the other symbol that we didn't really talk about was the, I don't know if it's a symbol so much, but maybe an idea that's mentioned by the astrophysicist or the physicist is the prism, refraction as a concept, biology being refracted, the radio waves being refracted, right? So when that character appears at the end, the Formica character, the crawler, the mirror image of herself.
Well, the crawler and Formica are different. Like there's the Formica character comes out of the crawler, I think is what happens in the movie.
What's the crawler?
So the crawler is the orb down beneath the lighthouse, but that creates a separate thing, which is that Formica.
I just didn't know what I was talking about. Okay, yeah, I just don't know. I just don't. I was trying to be cool and say crawler, thinking I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't know that was called the crawler. You're talking about the first thing is the mandala, pulsating mandala. The second is the person in the green screen suit copying her movements, right?
Correct. Yeah. And that's right. I just wanted to maintain the distinction.
Formica character.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever.
Get over yourself, Matt.
No, I mean I appreciate it. I should not say things that I don't understand. I'm just trying to be cool. So, yeah, the refraction concept, or the prism concept, which is when white light moves through a prism, it is spread into its constituent wavelengths, including, if there are other forms of light, the invisible. So if you were to refract white light through a prism, you would see the colors of the rainbow. But if you were to put a thermometer on each of the colors, you would see a higher temperature according to the different colors. And bizarrely, if you were to put a thermometer just beyond purple, in just above it, where it looks like there's nothing, the temperature would be even higher than purple, because that's the ultraviolet spectrum. So it's there, but our eyes can't see it, right? So that's one of the things that, I mean, I know it's not really supposed to be. It's not something that the writers or the director was trying to bring out. But that's one of the things that came to mind when first the idea of refraction was mentioned. Then I saw this character, this imitating character, pop out of the crawler, the mandala, as this sort of the being of this woman has been now refracted into two pieces once she has confronted the ultimate depths of herself. The monster that is herself is, in a sense, the opposite of herself, copies her, looks like her, but contains some sort of detritus or some sort of the thing that she wants to get away from, the thing that needs to be left behind or discarded, or maybe taken as part of herself to then leave and become a more whole person, or whatever process that is. That character, that copy of herself, I was wondering as it was happening, why doesn't it just immediately copy her? Why doesn't it just immediately look like her? Because I think a normal filmmaker would say, oh yeah, it immediately just becomes an exact copy of her, and then it follows her around and does exactly what she does. But it only happens later. It resolves into her. But at first, it just copies her movements. And the thing that's sort of beyond her is the temperature gradient just above purple in the prism. That is the part of yourself that is far deeper than your conscious mind is, which somehow knows you better, which is capable of defeating you. unless you understand it. Unless you know that you can, I know this is a bit of a stretch, but unless you know that you can put the thermometer just above purple and say, oh, wow, that there's actually something there. There's a higher temperature there, right? That is the ability to realize that the thing that's deep down that is created by trying to sort of plumb the depths of myself and my shadow, I have to first acknowledge that it's more powerful than me, that when I punch it and then it punches me back because it's copying me, that its punch is harder than my punch. I have to first admit to myself that that's true, and that's very hard to do. And I think the Jungian conception would be, again, the hardest part is to acknowledge that the thing that is more primordial, the thing that is buried deep down, is capable of clobbering you and destroying you. And the thing that is hardest to do is to say, yeah, that's true. Then you're able to either make it part of yourself or defeat it and bring out the elements of that thing that maybe give it power or whatever it is. But when I saw that sort of those elements came together, and I know that's not really something that the film is trying to say, but that's one reason why I think it didn't just immediately copy her in appearance, right? It's this thing that's doing what she's doing, but it's a blank slate at the same time, or it's a facsimile that's not quite perfect at the same time because it's somehow beyond her understanding. And only when she understands it can she put the grenade in its hand and create the fire that burns the whole thing down.
Yeah, and do you think that? So
did that make any sense?
Oh, absolutely. I think you're right. I think that's exactly what the film is trying to say. It's talking about the shadow. I mean, it's a dark being. It's the shadow. And you were talking about it not being fully formed. It's not fully formed for Lena until she acknowledges it and actually touches it or comes into contact with it. And then she starts to see it manifest. Oh, this is me. Like the shadow the thing I'm trying to fight is me. And when she realizes that, then she figures out how to trick it. And she destroys it, which Jung wouldn't say destroy the shadow. He would say incorporate it. But I think in the film's language is saying that it's more of, whereas other people have been destroyed or consumed by the shadow, she does in fact incorporate it. She takes ownership over rather than the shadow getting the best of her. Right. She's not killed by it. She moves on. And she burns down. Like, why does she burn down the lighthouse? Well, she burns down that, I think, center. It represents a center, the lighthouse, center of consciousness. And so maybe she burns it down because now that old center of consciousness is not useful anymore. So it has to be rebuilt somewhere else. Or it means that now she has a more full consciousness because it's everywhere. There's not a singular...
Or because it's a lighthouse and it was covered in vines and crustacean, that now that the crustacean has been burned away, now the lighthouse is able to fulfill its actual function, which is to point the direction or be a guidepost in some way and, show you where you are. I certainly think the film leaves plenty of room for saying that for the incorporation of the shadow as opposed to the full defeat of the shadow, because there's a difference between destruction and putting a knife on the shadow's neck and saying, I win this round, all right, because I understand you. I think that is more like that, because when she's talking to Doctor Strange's sidekick, she has the tattoo on her arm. She has the glowy eyeballs when she hugs her husband again, and she
doesn't bleed when she drinks either.
Yes, neither do I. I mean,
so remember when Kane's character comes back and finds her painting the bedroom, which I forgot to mention something there, but when he comes back to find her in the bedroom, they go downstairs and talk, and he takes a sip of water and there's blood in the water.
Well, that's because he's dying. I don't think it's the water didn't spark it, did it?
They show the same sequence of shots when Lena takes a sip of the water. It's saying that she's still herself.
Got it. Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense.